Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I'm AmandaMuse, and the world is really heavy right now. And I must admit, as a creator, I feel really weird creating kind of frivolous content. So I thought, well, my biggest skill set, I think at this point, is my ability to connect and to make you feel like you have a friend at all times, but especially when times are a little weird, like right now. So I'm coming at you today with some podcasts that you might enjoy. I'm AmandaMuse. I've been making content here on YouTube for a very long time, and I'm also a podcast host. And so not only do I create content, but I'm also a huge consumer of content. I love podcasts. I think it's a wonderful way to stay entertained, especially as a secondary thing that you're doing. You're doing dishes, you could be podcasting. You're going for a walk, you could be podcasting. Driving, podcasting. You get it? So thank you for being here, and subscribe if you're new. The first show on my roster of 10, in no particular order, but I must admit, I've been binging the heck out of this one, is Sounds Like a Cult. You have two hosts, and one of them is Amanda Montell, who is actually the author of a book called Cultish, which was recently recommended to me. And this book covers, things in our culture today that are like, is it a cult? You know what I mean? You could think of like MLMs, influencers, those life coaches and public speakers. There's NFL. There's so many options that they cover, and it's really interesting. And I also like just the way it's edited to their banter. They are a little bit younger than me, but there's still a lot like pop culture wise that I can relate on. And I love the little bit of like sciencey little nerdy bits that they throw in there. And at the end of each episode, they rate each topic in terms of how culty they are. Really fun. I'd recommend. This next podcast falls into the parenting category, definitely. And it's a type of podcast where it tackles a specific question or topic in a 30-40 minute episode. Now there's two hosts, they're friends. One of them is Dr. Lisa, the psychologist. And the co-host is her friend, who also happens to be a reporter and mom. And so what I like about it is they'll tackle a topic like, how do you address OCD with children? And it's very specific. So as a parent, you will come across things, whether it's food related, body image related, friendship related, habitual things that you might notice your children doing, and you're not quite sure how to tackle it, but like you're not ready to go and see your doctor perhaps, And so it's just one of those things where every time I listen, I like have a takeaway and I learn something, and the episodes are concise enough that I don't feel like it drags on and on and on, So like I take the dogs for a walk, and I've got an episode under my belt. Number 3 show is called Beyond the Blinds. This is definitely for all my pop culture fans out there. The episodes are long, so there's that, but they're fun. So a secret little thing that I have is that I do love pop culture. I mean, I've been reading Perez Hilton pretty much since, I don't read him anymore and I don't pay as much attention, but I was reading all about celebrities on perezhilton.com when that was like new in the early, mid 2000s type of thing. Can you even say that? Mid 2000s? Did I just age myself? Like 07, 2007. Like we're going back, okay? When it was a blog basically. But what this podcast is it addresses blinds. How do I make this sound simple without like giving you a TED talk? Basically, there is celebrity, right? Forward-facing celebrity, what they want you to know. And then there's like the truth. Kind of like human beings, if you can think about your favorite influencers, but this specifically addresses big time celebrities. And then talks about these blinds, which are allegedly truthful things about these celebrities, whether it comes to their sexuality, their partners, their lifestyle choices. It's fun. It's kind of like cotton candy, although I will say that if you have a very romanticized version of Hollywood and pop culture, this will probably ruin it for you because you'll learn about yachting and the celebrity, like the paparazzi walks and the fake relationships. Like, it's wild. I basically, how I stumbled upon this too is through TikTok. I started seeing these TikTok creators create these blinds videos, and I was like, what the heck is this? Down the rabbit hole, discovered this show. It's fun. I think you'll like it if you like celebrity pop culture. If you don't, give it a pass. Number 4 is called The Deck. This falls into the true crime genre. This is through the Audio Chuck Network, which is the platform that hosts Something Was Wrong. It hosts Crime Junkies and like a bunch of other podcasts that I love from Ashley Flowers. Just big love for Ashley Flowers. She's such a boss when it comes to podcasting and oh my gosh, true crime and everything that they're doing in that space. But The Deck is a newer show and it talks about this deck, like think of a deck of cards, where it's all of these very old cold cases that they really haven't had any movement on, and they create a deck of cards, if you will, that they distribute to prisons. And now, don't quote me on this because I've literally just started listening to the show and I'm trying to get a grasp of it. But they distribute these things to the prisons in hopes that something from one of the prisoners might ignite a tip and they could maybe potentially go on to solve these very cold cases. And I just think it's really wonderful what the team at Audio Chuck is doing to bring up cold cases and ways that they're helping with genealogy and money that they're able to invest in all sorts of research for these cold cases, and they're able to solve them based on this amazing community that Audio Chuck has come up with because I myself am a Patreon contributor, a patron of the show. So they take this money, and I'm sure part of it they put back into the business, and a huge chunk of it they donate. And you just feel like you're part of something. It's not just this flash in the pan of these, horrific stories. For entertainment purposes, they are doing good, and it's really neat to see it unfold and to be part of it. So a really great show. Number 5 is a wacky show. What a ride. This is a binge-worthy style of show. So you're looking at like 10 episodes, where I should say The Deck and Beyond the Blinds and Ask Lisa and the first show that I mentioned, Sounds Like a Cult, are all weekly shows. So Sweet Bobby, my goodness. If you've listened to the show, then you know it is the wildest case of catfishing I've ever heard. I still have so many questions. Like how? What? Like it's just, I'll tell you this because I don't want to give too much away. A woman is catfished for years. And it is unbelievable how this individual gets away with it and the outcome. So definitely interesting ride. I do feel like there needs to be some follow-up though, because like what in the heck? Number 6 is a show called Believe Her. True crime category, but less umbrella true crime in the sense of like, here's a story and let me tell you about it in 40 minutes. This is a binge-worthy type of show where you have, 10 episodes or so, and you're following one particular case through each episode. And, major trigger warning, there is huge SA, there is DV. I don't want to say these words because the YouTube algorithm will pick it up, but just trigger warning is needed. But it also shows you, this is specific to the US. As a Canadian, I don't know too much about my own system. I'm not gonna lie here. So it's hard to know how different it would be if this type of situation was to take place in Canada. But listening to the story unfold in the States and how little support actually went out to her. So if you like those kinds of stories, she ends up, I can't even tell you too many specifics because it's just too graphic and I don't want this video to get flagged. So look into it, Believe Her. It's a really powerful, hard to listen to at times story that I think a lot of people should listen to because it's time that we start believing them. You feel me? Number 7, I did allude to this earlier, is a show called Something Was Wrong. This is hosted by Tiffany Reese, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and I know her, at least through conference style of events as a creator, but I met her a few years back. I actually had the chance to interview her on my podcast, Friendo, so if I find that link, I will link it below. But she's really wonderful, and the story she's been able to tell, again in the true crime genre, but less about murder and horrific crime and more about, kind of like the before chapter. So the narcissists, the sociopathic tendencies, the red flags we should start paying attention to. And this particular season follows different people's stories. So each episode is a new story. And it's just such an important show because of the red flags. Like, this is the stuff you should be paying attention to before it escalates and all of a sudden it's a true crime story. Do you know what I mean? Really interesting stories. She's done a few different types of seasons. Like one was one particular story that flew through, each, binge-worthy type of show. And this particular season is individual stories. So very interesting, highly recommend. And it is also part of the Audio Chuck network. She was signed and I'm so proud of her. Not that she needs me to be proud of her, but it's so wonderful to see Tiffany create this fascinating show and where she's been able to take it. My last three, I just gotta bang them out because I gotta go get my kids from school. But it's Sleepy from Otis Gray. Listen to it on Spotify. I don't particularly listen to it, but my son loves this podcast. It helps him go to sleep. His personal favorite is the Velveteen Rabbit. But it's just, if you know Otis Gray, he doesn't enunciate anything. It's like ASMR vibes, super sleepy. So if you're needing some help in that department, check it out. Crime Beat is my number 9 show. This actually falls into the network that my podcast is with, which is Curious Cast, and Nancy Hicks is the host of this show, and it is a true crime show, and what she's doing is she's been in the Canadian crime reporting world for a very long time, over 20 years I think, which is hard to believe when you look at her, because you're like, really? You look so young, but she's been doing this for a very long time. And what she does on Crime Beat is tell stories of cases that she was part of as a reporter, but not so much let me tell you all the specifics of this case, but she goes through it and really tries to, humanize the victim and share their stories in such a way where maybe things have changed in the criminal system because of that case, or how they were let down or how they were supported. And she talks to RCMP officers, and it's just a really well done show. I believe it was taken from the television and then converted for podcasting. It's wonderful. Highly recommend. And last but not least is my show, which is Friendo. It's a weekly show where I show up and I talk to you with a guest, and we talk about various things from interesting hobbies, passions, parenting, health, wellness, relationships, all the things with my usual flair. You know how I am. And then of course I add in some recommendations, things that I've been loving for the week, along with a recommendation from one of my guests, one of my listeners. So that is that. Those are 10 shows I highly recommend. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite shows because I'm always on the hunt. Thanks guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.